why are we here? Why am I here? I suppose from the response that I got, all of you all know who I am. And you know what I've become semi-famous for, the speech that I gave at the city council. So I want to talk about three things today. I want to talk about what's happening. I want to talk about who's doing it. And I want to talk about what we can do about it. I'm going to cover all three of those things briefly. Now, first of all, what's happening? Now, I want you to imagine something with me. I want you to imagine that you've been accused of a crime you did not commit, okay? And the police shows up at your house, knocks down your door, takes you into custody, and places you under arrest. They take you downtown and book you and all that good stuff. Now, you know under your Constitution and under the rights that they read you that you have the right to remain silent and you have the right to an attorney. Now, you might not be sure where those things are located in the Constitution because you've only maybe scanned over the Constitution or you read it one time, a long time, but you know you have those rights. But now imagine this. You're in jail. You demand your right to remain silent. You demand a lawyer. And the police tell you this: I'm sorry, I cannot give you your constitutional rights. You have to fill out this form. Take it to the sheriff's department, and the sheriff has to approve you to have the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney. And it may take up to 14 days. Now imagine that. And then they say, until then, you're at our mercy. That's where we're at with our Second Amendment right now. We have a God-given right to self-defense that's affirmed by our Constitution. But for some strange reason, it is the only one of our constitutional rights that has to be doled out to us by elected officials. That is absolutely 100% outrageous, and it has got to come to an end. Because as we all know, all elected officials, every last one of them, has an agenda. And unfortunately, in the state where I come from, more and more of those elected officials who have the right to decide whether or not I have a firearm do not like the fact that I can have a firearm and are completely against that idea. Now, how absurd is that? As a matter of fact, the county that I come from, Guilford County, we have a sheriff right now. I'm not even sure if he's eligible to even own a firearm. The man has a criminal record. And he gets to tell law-abiding citizens who've never broken the law whether or not they could exercise their constitutional rights. So the scenario I just gave you sounds far-fetched. But let's talk about some other things that seem far-fetched. I bet most of you all that are my age never thought we'd reach a point where we were seeing the murder of infants being cheered in state halls. We never thought we'd see the day when we would allow somebody who agrees with terrorists to denigrate an entire religion on the floor of our House of Representatives. But it's happening. It's happening right now. The proverbial slippery slope to ending our constitutional right to bear arms has already started, folks. It's not a thing where it's far off in the distance somewhere and it may happen. It's already started. Our toes have not just been stepped on. They are in our faces, and they have been pushing us for years. And we've been backing up for years, and we've been giving up for years, and we've been relenting and compromising for years. It is time to stop compromising. It is time to stop backing up. It is time to stop saying, okay, I'll give this time. We have reached a breaking point, folks. And why have we reached a breaking point? Because now we have finally discovered who it is that's trying to take these rights. And who is it that's trying to take these rights? Is it a bunch of well-meaning people that don't want the children to be hurt anymore? They don't want the children to be hurt anymore. We're doing this for the children. Okay, is Planned Parenthood doing it for the children? They support Planned Parenthood. They support these groups that are so much against the police, who are supposed to stand up against gun violence, really stand up against gun violence. So who are these folks? Are they just well-meaning soccer moms who want to make sure their kids go to school safely? No, they're not. The people that are planning to destroy our Second Amendment and our Constitution are born and bred, dyed in the wool, Marxist socialists. And here's what's so dangerous about them. They're not reactionaries. They don't have a one-year plan, a 6-month plan, or a 1-year plan, or even a 5-year plan. These folks had a 1,000-year plan from the moment they set foot in Russia to take that country over. They had a 1,000-year plan to take over the entire world. Their goal has always been global domination. Global domination, not just domination of the West or the United States, but global domination. And that's who we are fighting. And we need to keep our eyes focused on them. All too often we fall off and we focus on other people. We focus on the Nazis. Let me tell you something about the Nazis. The United States of America did the right thing with the Nazis. We packed up our group, got on ships, went across the ocean, confronted the Nazis, and we killed them. We killed them. And they are dead and gone. But unfortunately, what we left behind was even more insidious. We left the communists. We left the people who really intended to take over the world with the worst form of government that man has ever known, the most deadly form of government that man has ever known. We left them in place. And we've been fighting against them ever since. We fought them on foreign shores, and now we find ourselves fighting them in earnest on our own shores. The people who have infiltrated our news media, our classrooms, our churches, our state halls, all throughout our government, they are not Marxists. They are not National Socialists. They are not these well-meaning soccer moms who want, common sense gun rights. They are hardcore socialists, Marxist socialists, who want to destroy our way of life because they despise it. We need to come to understand that. And we need to fight them with the same ferocity that they are fighting us. And we need to understand also that they are as dangerous as cancer in the body. They can destroy this nation and bring it to its knees. And if we love it, we have to identify them, call them by name, and fight them with everything that we have. So now, what do we do about it? What do we do? We lament all the time about, what can I do? This problem is bigger than me. Last year about this time, I was at the Greensboro City Council, kind of giving them the what for. I can remember in the days leading up to that meeting, I had a conversation with a gentleman at work, and we were talking about politics. And he says, well, talking about it's not going to do any good. That's not going to do it. Talk won't do any good. If all we're doing is talking. But I had to remind him of one thing. All great movements start because somebody started talking. The greatest movement in the history of the world is the movement that was started by Jesus Christ. And it got started because he stood up and he started talking. Our own revolution got started because men got tired of the tyranny of Great Britain, and they started talking amongst each other. You see, talk, speech, and having the courage to do so, it gets people to do the same thing. And only when they start talking and they start organizing and they start questioning can we then get into the actions that we need to do. And what are the actions we need to do? We've already started our talk. The actions we can do are varied, and I don't have time to cover them all here. But what it boils down to is this. It boils down to each and every one of us understanding that we have some talent that we have. The young lady that was just up here that made the film, her talent is filmmaking. There's other people, your talent might be writing. There's other people here, your talent is organizing. You have to identify that talent. And then you have to commit yourself to find some place where you can use that talent for this cause. Because you are giving it to the second greatest cause on this planet. I say the second greatest cause because, again, the first greatest cause is the cause of faith. The second greatest cause is the cause of freedom. And that's what you have to do. You have to identify your talent, find out where you fit in, and then you have to go to work. We can no longer, folks, just sit in our living rooms and scream at the TVs and complain to our families and complain to our coworkers. We have got to put that talk into action now. We have got to get involved in local politics because all politics are local. We have got to get involved in studying our Constitution so that we know it. We have got to get involved in standing up against these leftists who are running our schools and running our media and standing in the halls of our government. One of the things that I am most passionate about right now is this. We have people in our government right now who are trying to tell us about civil rights. The United States of America, who fought a war to free slaves, they're trying to tell us about civil rights. And the whole time they're doing it, they're doing it with this undertone that's close to my heart about trying to disarm us. Now, why in the world would they be trying to do that? Why in the world would you be trying to disarm a people who are so fierce in trying to give everybody their civil rights? Because it's all about control, folks. We need to put the control back with us. We need to understand that the fight to preserve our Second Amendment is not just a fight to preserve your right to go to a gun range and shoot an AR-15. The fight to preserve the Second Amendment is the fight to preserve the Constitution. Because I can assure you, when that Second Amendment goes away, the rest will be right behind it. Because your rights are no more protected. They have no more strength than the power that's behind them. The founders of this country knew that. And that's why they put the Second Amendment as the Second Amendment. Because they knew when the British came here, first thing they tried to take from us, the reason they set foot on our shores was to disarm us. So, folks, I'm going to issue a challenge to you. I issue this challenge to every group that I speak to virtually. First thing I want you to do is I want you to go home tonight. I want you to look in the mirror. I want you to thank God that he's blessed you to live in this nation, because this is the greatest nation on earth. The second thing I want you to do, I want you to look at yourself and I want you to ask yourself, what is the talent you have to give to the cause of freedom? And the third thing I want you to do is ask yourself, are you willing to display courage? Because courage is what it's going to take, folks. It's not going to take this ersatz courage to stand down on the floor of the House of Representatives with your head wrapped in your religious garments and declare your hatred in front of a bunch of people that you know are not going to stand up against you. Courage is the courage of John the Baptist, who told the truth even though it cost him his head. Are you ready to give your head for the cause of freedom? I, for one, am. It is that serious for me. Yesterday, a gentleman stood up here and talked about Winston Churchill. My favorite quote by Winston Churchill goes something like this. He said, if our Long Island love story is to come to an end. Let it come only as we are all laying on our beaches choking on our own blood. Winston Churchill was ready to sacrifice his own life for his nation. Folks sacrificed everything for us. It is time that we stand up and start making some sacrifices for our future generations. And we have got to do it, because not only is the enemy at the gates, he's entered the gates and he's in the house, and he's currently picking your pockets of your freedom. We have got to stop them, and we have got to do it now. And we have got to stand up with courage in order to do it.